make sure everything is set up. Don't you love how like the first part of my videos is just a cleavage shot? It's great. Awesome. All right. Hope everybody is doing well. I've got flaky mascara this morning. Usually don't wear much makeup to yoga practice. I also usually don't have dog paws on my mat. Just on my floors, right? At the studios. So we are, I hope I can be seen and everything, because that's just what it is. So this is Power Flow with back care. All right. So what does that mean? Typically, the reason that our backs are injured or constantly in pain is from lack of stability. So power and actually back bends tend to heal the back if everything is done properly. So when you look at an injury, so let's just look at a basic injury first. And so you have, say, you wrench your back, or you have a herniated disc or some great thing like that. Ultimately, the body goes through this first few weeks of repair where it's laying down these proteins in this crisscross pattern. And if you've ever looked at like a cut or one of your scabs on an outside injury, you look at that scab really, really closely, it will look like gauze. It's laid down, like you can see the little proteins are laid down in almost a kind of organically, if you would, you can think about it that way. So what happens inside of your body is the same thing, no different. So you get an injury and the body goes through several weeks, depending on the level of the injury, goes through several weeks of repair, right? And if you're not wrenching on it, overstretching it, stuff like that, really any amount of stretching should be really gentle through an injury. Then what it's going to do is it's going to lay down an internal scab, right? Which we call scar tissue. Same difference, right? Except you just can't pick it off. Which brings me to like this overstretching whenever you're injured. Yes, you should keep the muscles pliable, but you can do that more through strength, which is what we're going to incorporate through the back series, than through stretch. It feels good to stretch because you're getting some kind of sensation, but what you're doing is actually picking the scab. That's great. Welcome to morning yoga, right? And so, so basically, every time you like really wrench into your back, trying to stretch it out, then you're actually doing internal picking of a scab, right? So when you're first injured. So whenever you create an injury, whether it's in your knee or in your back or on your skin, you don't screw around with it in the beginning, right? You give it a chance to heal. So even a cut on your skin, you would put a Band-Aid on it, you take care, you wouldn't bump it too much, you surely wouldn't like take the skin and stretch it apart, would you? Right. Why would you do that with a rip or a tear or some type of injury internally? Right. So we take a little bit of time, depending on your age, to just kind of gently move the area, take care of the area, right? The first part in healing is always strength. So as you go through the healing process, you increase strength first and then stretch follows behind. And when you're healing an injury, stretch should be on a scale of 1 to 10, should be somewhere around a 3 or 4, which is like your restorative classes, or just gently moving into a pose as though you just woke up. Right? Get that nice little, that feels good stretch. So what we want to do is we want to treat our internal injuries just like we would our external injuries that we can see with our eyes. And we want to build a foundation for it. So like if you had a cut on your skin or some kind of laceration, you would put a gauze over it and stabilize that area. You don't necessarily have the ability to do that unless you break a bone. And if you break a bone, then they put you in a cast. But if you wrench your back or wrench your knee, wrench some kind of soft tissue, how are you going to bandage that area, right? And so you bandage that area by creating stability and strength around that area, whatever muscle tissue is surrounding it. Another reason that you do that is that keeps enough movement without overstretching the area, essentially picking off your scab again, right? That it allows blood flow to continually go to the area, so you're not just not moving it, which is almost as bad as overstretching it. I would say overstretching is one of the worst things that you can do after an injury. Anyway, we'll get to that. So increasing strength first and then following with gentle stretch as you continue to heal is the way to heal any internal injury pretty much in your body. And so you want to create an internal bandage wrap to your back. Well, how do you do that? So you engage all the muscles around the place of injury. So I've told people, I'll show my x-rays one day. Maybe I can put them up on a screen share or something. I have spondylolisthesis, which is I have a bone spur and a disc that slid forward and all kinds of crazy nonsense. I've got a collapsed disc and I've got like this overly spaced disc because of the one that's lying forward. But I'm able to do all my Cirque du Soleil stuff. However, when I first came into yoga years and years and years ago, I wanted to do all the Gumby poses that, foot behind the head, to the back of the head. I did all of those poses. I constantly had back and hip problems. That's because I already had an injury from wrecks and childhood stuff. So by overstretching it and not increasing the strength first, I was essentially just breaking down the tissues more, right? And so now any flexibility aspect that I engage is like I'm holding the space while I'm expanding it. And so that brings me to healthy muscle. And so you'll see my muscle I'm going to show. It looks like bingo wings. It's not bingo wings. It's a healthy muscle. Healthy muscle moves. If you see muscle that, the muscle we're talking about, that doesn't move, that muscle is actually very much an atrophy, right? Or muscle that is kind of stuck to the bone, that's very much an atrophy. It is scar tissue to the bone. So when we think about caring for ourselves and caring for our injuries, whether it's the knee or the back, how much scaffolding to that area can we build while we go through daily motions and daily activities? My daily activities happen to be hand balancing and back bends, right? And so I have to be very mindful, which teaches me to be mindful of my other practices, right? Of that as I go through my practice. So whatever your thing is, whether it's a shoulder deal, whether it's a low back deal, which we're going to focus on today in our power class, we're focusing on encasing these spaces. Now, there's a beautiful aspect of our transverse core that actually corsets the spine. So when we think of core, a lot of people think of six-pack abs, which, look, I love six-pack abs. They're beautiful. They're fun to play with, but they do nothing for your spine. They either bend you forward or they keep you from going too deep into a back bend, right? So what we're working with is the deep transverse abs, which are not really accessed in normal abdominal routines that you see in gyms or fitness areas. So essentially you're building up pretty abs, but they have no support to your spine. So your abs around your core are called deep transverse abs. And they actually come together like a basket weave, right? And so as you move, they have all this kind of flexion to hold the spine up from, basically think about your hips, and every bit of your body weight is just like balancing on the spine, and the only stability it has is this deep transverse core that just weaves into the muscles that weave into your legs, that weave into your hips, to your shoulders, to your neck, right? Where all our bandhas or our body locks are engaged within a yoga practice. So why do we need to know this information in the way that our abs look? Because your abs are like a Chinese finger trap. So if I were to turn you onto your side and then pull your hips and your rib cage out equally, those deep transverse abs would lock down on your spine like a Chinese finger trap. So when you are in a yoga posture, regardless of what the posture is, you're trying to create as much length between the hips and the ribs, not by shifting the fronts of the ribs up, which ultimately shortens the backside of this Chinese finger trap. You can't have a lopsided finger trap. You'll be able to slide your fingers out, right? Is this corseting of the spine by lifting both front, back, and side ribs equally so that the rib cage does not slide out or spiral or spin or loop out of the knit or the weave of that the body. And so by expressing length in the spine as much as you can through a yoga practice, you're actually taking all of those abs and wrapping them in around your spinal column. And then that enables you to move. What happens is that people come into practice and they have fatigued or weak core muscles and overstretched back muscles. And when they come into a practice, they lay into postures rather than even like in triangle pose, which we'll experience here. I know I'm yakking, but hey, I'm a teacher and you're going to learn something. Right? So even here in triangle pose, most people think like the goal is the floor and stuff. Really, and the goal of triangle pose is to extend as much as you can. Let this hip socket drop in so that as I take this extension over this front leg, I still have the basket weave. And I can hold myself here by frictioning my feet into the mat, connecting with my core, and I don't need my arms. And then I can go into twisting motions that are supported by core rather than by just the hand to twist me and wrench on my back. So that's the first aspect of this practice. The second aspect of back care is that typically back injuries are created from unsupported twisting and unsupported forward folding. The counteracting of that would be strong back bends, because you have to think about it. If you herniate a disc because you bent over, you just blew that disc out, that jelly donut out the back side. So what we need to do is take the front side of the spine, start to lengthen it, strengthen it, and then keep it long as we're going into this back bend so it pushes the jelly donut back into the spinal column. And if you wonder about what jelly donut I'm talking about your disc. So back bends and twists are healthy. Twists and back bends are essential to caring for your back and, of course, core movements. But if you're doing a yoga practice properly, you should be doing core even while you're standing. But today, we're going to incorporate a little more. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to teach a vinyasa flow class. There'll be aspects of this class that maybe you can't do the flow just simply because it's hard to step around on your mat, or your wrist ache because you're not used to down dog. That's fine. Child's pose is always available. You can skip parts. We always meet at down dog before we start again. So if all else fails, if we're hands down on the mat, end up in down dog. If I'm at the top of the mat, we'll end up standing, right? And so that's kind of the caveat for this practice. Listen to your body. The first thing that I want you to do is identify what real core muscles are. So we're going to do the whole, this is my favorite part of teaching, and those of you who have not been into my class, This is why students love me. I am going to teach you truly how to engage your abdominals and your pelvic floor in a way you've probably never been taught before. So, y'all are going to have fun with this. All right. So those of you who are females will be hopefully knowledgeable on this. Those of you who are guys, I'll have an aspect of teaching both sides of this. So to engage this part that I'm talking about, the pelvic floor, which you should be doing all day long, especially if you have back issues, a lot of people tell you Kegel exercises, right? That keeps, pelvic floor healthy. It can help your back. No, what we're doing is we're engaging Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. And so these are deep body locks where your legs plug in to your hips, and then your upper body and lower body meet in one area, right? And there's another one up here, but we're talking about these two. So where your legs plug into your pelvis, there's a group of muscles there, and it's at your perineum, your space between your spaces, right? So perineum, right? And then you have a place where like the upper and lower abs kind of union in the middle of that. And that is about 2 inches below your navel and kind of centered into your spine, right? So that's Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, root lock, belly, navel lock, right? How do we engage these forever? Like I'm gonna show you how to do this and then never let it go. It'll be really hard for most people, but I promise this will heal your back, and this is how I've kept my back healthy through these practices. So those of you that are female, do a Kegel exercise, feel that. As everybody looks up wonderingly. Right? All right, so you feel Kegel, right? Feels a little frontal, right? Now, hold a tampon in. Different facial expression. You go from this to this, right? Now, feel the difference between a Kegel and holding a tampon in. I know it's a gross description, but it's literally the best description. So think about like, oh, I need to get to the restroom right now, right? All right, so that is the first engagement of how you engage the pelvic floor. So when you're thinking about strengthening this pelvic floor, whether it's for, better pelvic floor as you age or healing your back, that's one way to engage it. Let's do it the way the guys know how to do it. And everybody can do this one. So if you didn't identify it as the female aspect, we can do this one. So I'm going to ask you to inhale, and then I'm going to ask you to cough. When you cough, and it's like the prostate exam, you're going to feel one muscle at the base of your pelvis shoot upward. You're going to feel another muscle right there at the below the navel pull back into your spine. And you're going to literally, if you have your feet planted really well, it'll strengthen everything from the rib cage down when you do this. But I want you to identify through proprioception these muscles. So everybody take a deep inhale in. Cough. Feel that? Morning allergies. I just, living with a cat is never good. Okay, inhale. Cough. We had one muscle at the bottom and then one muscle at the navel. We had one muscle kind of shoot up and one muscle move back, right? Those are your pelvic floor muscles. Now see if you can engage those muscles without coughing. I will refer to them as cough muscles. So I don't have to refer to them as holding a tampon in or a prostate exam, right? This is just more palatable through a yoga class, right? All right, so that's the first step. So we've got those muscles engaged. Now we're going to have to get a better proprioception of how to breathe. So typically we breathe, we feel the breath come into both lungs. We are going to oscillate through right and left side today. So I want you to feel as you inhale, soften that right side. As you exhale, squeeze the left side. See how it pulls you over more? Inhale, open through the left side. Squeeze the breath out through the right. See how continue to do that as how that begins to open up those abdominals, those deep transverse, and then how the exhale and everything engages them a little bit. So the importance to that is even on the inhale, we have to mentally stay engaged up with these muscles. That the exhale will re-engage those to some degree for us, okay? So standing tall at the top of your mat, we're gonna get started with this practice. I'm running late. I gotta go look at some property, hopefully to do some pop-up yoga and to actually do some retreats. Yeah. All right, so standing tall at the top of your mat, get your calf muscles engaged. Woo. If you need to, you're at home, cough again. Nobody will be scared of you right now. All right. All right, inhale, sweep your arms up, reach up. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold, melt over those legs. Inhale, come halfway up. Think about those corseted muscles. So you're holding yourself up here. Exhale, hands down, step back to plank position, right? So from here, we're gonna stay in push-up position. You can always drop to your knees if you'd like. From your push-up position, inhale, feel softness in the right rib cage, but not in the belly. Now squeeze a little more as you exhale out of the left side of your waistline and rib cage. Inhale into the left rib cage without softening the core. Exhale, squeeze a little more with the right side, squeezing the breath out. Now inhale, feel it come through both. Keep the belly tight. Now exhale as you lower, see if you can tighten that low belly a little more. You may lay all the way down and just come into a baby cobra, or if you're feeling froggy today, come into your up dog, but still keep those calf muscles engaged and feel it come out of your low back when you do. Exhale goes to your down dog, hips are high. Inhale, stay here nice and long through the sides of the body. Exhale, you can step or hop a little bit, try to land with your toes close together. Inhale, come halfway up, bring your hands onto your shins, corset your waistline by extending your tailbone back, crown of the head forward. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rights the breath all the way up, reaches up, stretches up. Exhale, hands at the sides, mountain pose. Inhale, reach those arms up, reach up, stretch up. Long sides of the waist. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold, melt over the legs. Hands to shins, support the spine with the strength of the legs and the core. Exhale, hands down, step back to plank again. So this time, as we come to our plank position, I want you to keep the low belly tight, but we're going to speed the breath up a little bit. This will warm us up and engage our core. So feel the inhale come in through the nose. Squeeze it out with the low belly, sides of the waist, upper abs. Inhale. Focus the squeeze with the core as you exhale. Inhale, belly tight. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, lower. You can come to baby cobra or up dog. Keep that pelvic floor tight. Keep those calf muscles engaged. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, stays here. Exhale, step or hop to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise the breath all the way up, nice and strong. Exhale, hands at the sides. Let's do that again. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, swan dive. Inhale, halfway lift. Step or hop back through your chaturanga this time. Inhale to your up dog, minding those pelvic floor muscles. Exhale, down dog. We're going to inhale and sweep the left leg to the sky. Exhale as left foot lands dead center of the hands, the longest step you have. Pivot the back heel down. We're coming into warrior two. So this is a nice long step. You're underneath wrist. The front knee is bent. The knee is angled over the second and third toe. Right? So put your fingers behind your ears like you're getting arrested. Or doing abs, whichever one you're more familiar with, right? All right, so from here, remember that breath work that we were doing? So we're gonna inhale, center. Lean towards your back straight leg. As you exhale, squeeze with the waistline. That right side squeezes the breath out. The inhale brings you up center. The exhale squeezes through the left side as you come forward. Long spine. Notice I'm not wrenching my back. Inhale comes up. Exhale. And inhale. Exhale, forward. Inhale, back. Exhale. Inhale, comes center. Exhale, leans out over that front leg. Nice long line. Inhale, comes up. Exhale, squeeze with the breath. Squeeze with the waistline. Inhale, comes up. Exhale, comes forward. Inhale, comes up. Hold here. We're going to tick-tock the feet and do the exact same thing on the other side. So legs are really strong. Fingers come behind the ears again. We're going towards the straight leg, which is our left leg first. Exhale, leans you back. You feel that left side waist. Squeeze the breath out. On your inhale, you come up center. As you exhale, you come over that front leg, making sure it's nice and long. Inhale, comes up. Exhale, leans back. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale comes up. Exhale comes over. Now inhale, come up. We're going to pivot the toes to the side of the mat. We're going to take our arms out in airplane arms. Turn the palms forward so the shoulders settle away from the ears. Notice my toes are at 12 o'clock. They're not pivoted out. It won't feel good on your knees if you do that. So we're going to twist side to side using only the core. Root through the feet. As you exhale, rotate towards your left. Inhale, comes center. Squeeze the feet together. Engage that calf muscle. Exhale, twist. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist. Inhale, center. Don't let those hips shift. So everything from the navel down is stabilized. You're using the core and you're using that exhale to twist. So notice if you're using the exhale and squeezing out with the core, you're able to twist more. Inhale, center. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, center. Drop those hands behind the back. Interlace the fingers or braiding the fingers behind your back. Take your knuckles away from your bum as you come forward. Head comes down, bum goes up. Now, if your legs are really short and your hamstrings are really open like mine, you can put the head on the floor, do so. But don't shorten the stance really to do this. Or 4 more. Pull that belly back. So even here, as you hang over, you shouldn't feel an extreme stretch in your back. If you do, then remember what we talked about. You're supposed to engage the muscles around the places of discomfort so that you can feel comfort and length and stability, then move into the posture. This is a hamstring stretch, not a lower back herniated disc stretch, all right? On your next inhale, you're going to bring your hands onto your hips or your waistline. If you bring it onto your waistline, you can start to corset those abs. As you inhale, come halfway up, flatten your back. And then on your next inhale, come all the way up. We're going to step to the top of our mat and find our mountain posture. Once we find our mountain posture, second toes are at 12 o'clock. And your feet, if your feet are like this, or you lean into one leg, that is a huge cause of back problems as well. Pretty freaking obvious, right? So turn your toes to 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock, people. Inhale, reach your arms up. Corseting those abs around the spine as you exhale. Feel the breath help you with the core. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, hands down, step or hop back through your chaturanga. That means bent elbows, no plank or straight arms. Baby cobra or up dog, whichever serves you. And then exhale, down dog. Using the exhale to lengthen the sides of the waist more here. We're going to take an inhale and sweep that right leg up to the sky, reaching it up. Exhale as the right foot steps by right thumb. Change my mind about my poses. And put the left hand down. So I'm standing on train tracks, not a tightrope. So if I looked at my feet, they're still like 4 inches apart like they were at the top of the mat, right? For some of you, you're going to bring your left elbow over and you're going to come into prayer twist. Some of you will put the left hand or keep the left hand down, right arm will go up. Some of you are overachievers and want to take the arm out, and then I'm not ready to do that one today. I'll do the overachiever one. But if you want to bind, it's awful early to bind, but you know, this is your back. Right? So let's go into that breath that we were just doing a minute ago. Inhale through the right side, open the right ribcage. Exhale, squeeze the left side and move the top shoulder back as you do. Now, inhale through the left. Feel that stretch. Exhale, squeeze the breath out through the right. Rotate, reach up for 4 more. 3, 2, and 1. Nice and easy. We're going to bring the back foot in so that we're stable. We're going to stretch over that front leg as we bow. So even here, I am drawing that pelvic floor back. I can feel those calf muscles not only stabilizing my low back, but it'll feel like it's drawing my inner thighs closer to one another. My navel is pulling away from my front thigh. Wonderful. You're going to inhale, bend that front knee, come all the way up into crescent lunge. So I'm still riding that back foot. I'm going to lift and straighten both legs since my stance is shorter. All right. For 4 more. 3, 2, and 1. So now I'm going to ask you to reach out over that front leg. How long of a line can you get from your fingertips to this back foot? So for me, I typically go into gymnastics dismount. So I've got to pull my ribs in. So pull that belly away from that front inner thigh. For 4, corset the abs. 3, 2, and 1. Wonderful. Hands down, go to down dog. You can stay here. Or if you want to float plank, chaturanga, up dog, minding your back. Exhale, down dog. So we'll all meet in down dog, taking a breath or 2 in this space. See if you can re-engage the pelvic floor, those abdominal muscles each time you exhale. The muscles of the pelvic floor are directly connected to our breather muscles. They're actually a part of it. So use the breath to strengthen your abs, right? Or do crunches all day, which don't actually strengthen all your abs, right? So we're going to take the left leg high, left foot steps. So whatever crescent twist you did on the other side, whether you let the hand down inside or outside the foot, whether you came into prayer twist, you always want to mirror image if possible. And so if mirror imaging for some reason isn't possible, you go to the less available possibility. So example, if I couldn't put my hand down on this side like I did the other, then I'd back the other one off, right? Wonderful. Go ahead and bring that back foot in a little bit so you can stabilize. Still feeling the breath. Go in through the abs, go through the rib cage, but squeezing out with the abs.
Each exhale tightens the pelvic floor, the sides of the waist, the low belly. And then we're going to bend that front knee, come up to a crescent, a shorty little crescent lunge, right? And then we're going to lift and straighten that leg, right? 4, 3, 2, and now bend that knee, come out over that front thigh, wiggle that foot back a little bit so you can get that strong, low, long line. Notice the belly is moving away from the front thigh. You've got the front foot nice and rooted. 3, 2, and 1. Hands down, step back to your down dog. You can stay there or you can float plank, chaturanga, up dog, and down dog. Wonderful. Looking towards the top of the mat, step, jump, crawl, meander. Right into your Betty Boop. Exhale, fold. Inhale, chair pose. Wonderful. Holding here for 4, 3, 2. Now, from here, we're going to take the right ankle, figure 4 over the left thigh, like you're drinking beer on Sunday, not like a lady in a chair, right? So from this position, I'll shut up so I can hold some balance here. From this position, I'm sitting back, and it's hard to teach on a video and watch yourself wiggle on a video while you're doing balance. So as I sit back, I'm starting to sit back into that hip, so it's a strong stretch in the hip. I'm not just like being lackadaisical in this right hip. I'm really still engaging that pelvic floor while I sit way back for 4 more. 3, 2, and 1. Come up, lift, hold that right knee in your hand. If you want more, grab a hold of the ankle and bring those legs together. Notice I have the outside of my right ankle. I'm going to engage that pelvic floor and start to push the foot into the hand like I'm trying to straighten the leg out behind me. So a little modified dancer here. 3, 2, and 1. Release. Shake it off. So standing bow pose or dancer's pose is called standing bow pose because this foot is pushing on the hand so much that this arm becomes tight like a string, right? But you have to have pelvic floor engagement to keep balance there. Let's go ahead and stand tall, roll the shoulders down and back. Wonderful. All right, inhale into our chair. And this time we're going to figure 4, and you're drinking beer on Sunday. And so as I go back, so my tendency is gymnastics, dismount, right? That's my natural tendencies in life, right? So I have to watch that even here. So I sit back, I pull those core muscles back. I'll stop watching myself in the video. I'm shaking all around. So you feel the inner thighs reach back, you feel the sides of the body reach long. 2, and go ahead and come up. And let's release, do a little Tibetan drum. So typically, I talked about dealing with stretching and low back or injuries, right? So when I stretch a back that is injured, I rarely do seated hip openers. I will do standing hip openers like what we just did. So those of you who have done half pigeon, which is this on the floor, right? Or laid on the back and done this. That was the active version of that. So we're now going to take an active version of an inner thigh stretch. You're going to step wide on your mat so that you can see me in whatever direction that is. And you're gonna make sure your second toes are at 12 o'clock. So first I want you to feel the engagement that should be going on. So you can cough and do your prostate exam. You can hold on to a tampon. You can exhale really, really tightly, right? So you've got all different tools in your belt. But let's add that with our tendency is our feet want to slide out here. So in yoga, we're always looking to meet a midline. We're never moving out too much and we're never drawing in too much. We're doing just enough that it keeps us centered, right? So right now you feel your feet are moving out. If we want to engage pelvic floor, we have to bring the balance of that energy back in. So feel as though you're trying to scrunch your mat a little bit. Feel that, it feels like it pushes your feet down. Feels like now everything is strong from the foot to about the sides of the waist, right? So let's think about those calf muscles continuing to draw the feet towards one another. Let's come all the way forward until our hands are on our ankles. So from here, we're moving into Hanuman, or double-legged splits, but you have to keep your hands on top of your feet. Why is that? Because when you put your hands on your floor, you start to collapse it, right? So what I want is this active engagement that I just showed you as you walk the feet out. So you can walk the feet out as wide as you want, but nothing touches the floor except your feet. And I don't trust this mat. I can feel it sliding. So I'm going to squeeze my abdominals in and hold here for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hands come down onto the earth. You heel toe those feet in. We're coming into yogi squat. So hands came down about shoulder distance. You're going to pivot the heels in behind the wrist. The toes are going to go out. Notice my heels are down. We are doing Eastern stretch, not Western stretch. All right, so heels are down. If you need to put a blanket or another yoga mat or some books underneath your heels, do so, because I need you to be able to push into your heels. Bring your hands into prayer if you can. What I tend to see with a lot of people in this posture is this it's like rounding, you're like way down here. What I need you to do is come up, and by pulling your feet towards one another like we were just doing, that'll enable you to come up and it'll enable your butt to draw down a little bit, right? Let me turn around. So this is another problem with Western culture is that we sit on furniture. And when we sit on furniture and not have this natural stance of sitting that we were biologically developed to have, furniture is hard. Furniture and shoes. If I could get rid of the majority of your furniture and your shoes, I could probably heal 65% of your back issues. And then your sugar. We'll talk about that another day, right? I'll talk about that when I've battled my quarantine sugar addiction. Comfort places. We are moving to comfort places. And we're moving to a comfort place now. Hands down, toes are forward, hips are up. Shimmy it out. Wonderful. Bend those knees and roll all the way up. So from here, I'm going to ask everybody to come down to the earth. Let me double check my time. Probably need to set up some kind of clock in this room so I don't have to look past the cameras for the time all the time. All right. Go ahead and come to a seated position. How's everybody doing? So we've talked about increasing strength over flexibility first when dealing with back issues. We talked about using the core to twist us, to support us in places that
our spine is extending out past our body, which will prep us for like when we turn to grab something, right? Or we bend over to pick something up. We already have a muscle memory developed of this pelvic floor and this abdominal cage to support our spine. So it becomes a part of your neural connection when you go to do a movement like that. I classify yoga poses as you can be throwing a baseball, or you can be doing crescent twists. Or you can turn to grab something out of your cabinet, right? It's all the same movements. So another pelvic floor work that I like to do, if you have some books or blocks, great. If not, your feet might not come off the floor. That's fine. Notice I'm setting my books and my blocks up a little forward here, so they're not way back by my bum, they're closer to my knees. And I'm actually going to put them underneath my knees. For some of you, you can come into full lotus. This just enables you to pick your butt up more. If you cannot do that, your ankles will stay on the floor for what we're about to do. Getting some kind of messaging. I would like to remove all of it. Hey guys, I finally saw. Hi Valerie, I hope you're enjoying class. All right, so full lotus or not, right? So let's work on some of that breath work, especially since we're at home. I feel like people are a little intimidated by weird breath work. And if you have a towel handy, you probably need one because we're about to snot it up in here. So I mentioned the aspects of strengthening and how to deal with back issues and all that fun stuff. And I've been talking about during class how the breath is attached to other muscles within the body. And so even here, if you take your fingertips onto your inner hips and then you exhale really tightly, like really push all that breath out, you'll feel the core engage, right? And then go ahead and relax for a second. So why not use something that already is going to happen in your body regardless of whether you want to or not, meaning the breath? Why not use those exhales to start to strengthen those deep, deep core muscles? And so we attach this deep core work with breath. So if you need to blow your nose, blow your nose. But okay, belly check. Using all the sugar, right? So when we breathe, we're going to be moving the belly, not necessarily the low belly. See how I'm moving this part? This part is stable. So what that's doing is moving some snot around, but what that does is that is moving that deep transverse core. So we're going to first do this breath with our just sitting here, right? And our index fingers and thumbs together. And then we're going to put our hands down and do several rounds of that breath when we're lifted up. This will back. So if your feet stay down, that's fine. If this is really hard, that's fine. It was really hard for me when I first started doing it too, right? All right, here we go. Nothing like shooting snot rockets on your yoga video, right? All right, so gaze off the tip of your nose until you can like see off the sides of your nose and they kind of come blurry. See if you can hold it in the space. That'll strengthen some eyeball muscles. All right, here we go. Inhale and exhale. We try to pick the pace up as we go. Hopefully you can hear my breath. Deep breath in, hands on blocks. See if you can lift your butt and still move the upper abs with that breath. Open chest like your seated squat. and down. Wonderful. You should feel a little invigorated, right? Another word for lightheaded. All right. You should be a little snotty. Breaking up some of the springtime baby trees up in your nostrils, right? And your back should feel pretty good right now. So as we move into our back bends, we're going to try to keep that same amount of strength in our core. And we're not trying to jut into our lower back and our back bends. We want to take the area of the spine that typically is kyphotic or turns outward and take that curvature and add to the whole entire back bend. And so this already goes back and this already goes back. You don't have to worry about that. How much length and then arc can you get, right? So from here, we're going to come onto our knees. If you need to roll your mat up to pad your knees. My toes are tucked under here. See that, right? So you can create fists and put them into your low back, or you can turn your fingertips up if you wish, right? And so knees are our hip, inner hip distance or mountain pose distance apart. Fingertips are up. Now, grow long evenly through the sides by pushing the knees down. Once you have that, you take the back bend. And so once you take the back bend, you can go back here supporting with the hands, or you can drop all the way back. But my goal here is how much corseting around my place of injury and how much length can I get. So staying there, each exhale engages your core a little more, pushes your knees down a little more. Each inhale continues to keep the core tight while you lengthen through the sides of the body. Each exhale roots the knees. You can feel the fronts of the thighs move down. You can feel your shins try to reach down. You can feel the sides of the waist reach up, the sternum trying to touch the ceiling as you deepen this camel pose. If your heart is straight up to the ceiling, you can drop the head back. Use your next inhale to come up. You're going to unfurl your mat and come into a down dog. And so even here in this down dog, how long can I create a side of the waist, a length through the back of the neck? Wonderful. All right, go ahead and come down. So since this is a back care class, we're going to finish off with a little gentle hip opening, a little gentle stretching towards the end of the class. What I would like you to do is remember that you need, especially if you have an injury, you're on a scale of 1 to 10, you're about a level 3 or 4. Also notice that the other aspect of hip opening for someone with a back injury, besides doing them standing like we just did with our figure 4 and our Hanuman, we do stretches on the back. So we're going to mimic those active stretches that we just did in a standing posture on our back as well. Like I said, I wouldn't do like splits in a seated position for someone with a back injury. Why? Because you all just lay into your friggin' backs, right? You think that if you bend forward, you're getting somewhere, right? It's just dinging it in the back. Same thing for, like our half pigeon. So as you come onto the spine, grab a book, a block, a pillow, something fun to put underneath your bum, right? So I'm gonna lay back, I'm gonna lift my bum. And so this is not on my low back, right? This is like near my butt, right? I'm gonna take my legs up. And now I'm going to do a straddle here and just let my legs fall over. Let gravity do the work, pulls everything else down. Might as well stretch me out while we're here. If it's going to stretch my skin, it's going to stretch my inner thighs as well. So notice how there's no load in your back.
right? You're feeling an inner thigh stretch, hopefully. If you're not, well, I don't know what kind of freak of nature you are, but, right? But you shouldn't feel as though you're gaining any kind of load in your back. Comparative, if I had you upright and seated, then you would still feel the stretch here, but you would also feel this thing because typically most of you round in your lower back area. So this is a way of keeping all of that safe. You might notice that you have to engage a little bit of that calf muscle, right, to make this more comfortable too. So here, if you're feeling a little dinging in the back of the knee or in the inner hip, or it just feels like an intense, way too intense stretch, engage your calf muscles. If you need to cough right here, your legs will pop up. It's kind of funny, but anyway. But what you'll find is if you'll get those pelvic floor muscles engaged and then let the stretch happen out from there, or any places of injury. So if you have like a knee issue or a low back issue, you're kind of drawing the muscle in around that space and then spreading out. You'll notice the pain goes away because you're internally supporting. You're creating an internal bandage. Sorry guys, I know I got real teachy today, but I was inspired to teach today. So sometimes I just shut up and teach classes, and then sometimes you go and learn something while you're doing it. Okay. All right, guys, go ahead. Oh, take those legs up. You might have to help them, right? All right, so we're gonna now put our feet down and just let that low back, those hips, whatever mellows from that. So it's like I'm in a supported bridge. You might even choose to pin your knees together. That's a nice, yummy stretch. Especially if you're someone like me who goes all gymnastics dismount, or goes in, call it Jessica Rabbit too, where it's just all TNA, right? This, you'll feel a pretty intense stretch on those inner hips. You might even feel like your low back trying to pop in. That's your psoas. Wonderful. All right, guys, so we're going to press our feet into the floor. We're going to lift our hips up. We're going to slide that block out from underneath us. And then we're going to windshield wiper the knees. Yep. And so remember that standing hip opener where we were figure fouring, like drinking beer on Sunday? We're doing that here, but we're on our back. So what I want you to do, watch first. So lay here with your feet down, right? Now feel how the back of your neck feels, and feel where your butt and your tailbone and your low back is on the floor. Like your low back should be relatively, if not flat on the floor right now, close to it, both sides of the hips. The tailbone should be near the floor, right? We're going to take the left ankle over. Now, when you start to bring both of these knees to you to grab your right leg, what I see is a lot of people really want to grab the leg and then they start to pull their butt up, or because there's tightness through this myofascial back line. That's another day, another anatomy day, right? What happens is the back of the neck starts to shorten and the chin lifts, right? So the back of your neck is connected to your hamstrings, right? So we want to imagine if we have an Adam's apple, right? That we're letting that throat drop down, but also letting this tailbone drop down, right? And so if grabbing this leg, right leg, is not available, you can always just grab the heel, or actually I prefer the ankle bone itself of the left leg and pull it in. You should not feel a stretch in your back. You should only feel it in your hip. If you don't feel it, it's because, this hip is open for you, right? That's how it is. Wonderful. All right, we're going to switch that out and do the other side. Figure four like you're drinking beer on Sunday. Draw the knees in, keeping the low back and the back of the neck in the same general direction as that they were before you started that posture. So you're going to continue to breathe and stretch here. And so we've been using the muscles to strengthen the core throughout class, to stabilize the back. And
as we go into our Shavasana here in just a moment, or our corpse pose, we're going to let go of the majority of the muscle, but we're going to keep a gentle mental awareness on these muscles that need to be engaged so that we can start to log them as part of our daily like awareness, right? So go ahead and put the feet onto the floor. We're going to just windshield wiper the knees today. So if you have a back injury, remember what I said, over twisting without strength engaged is not necessarily good, especially for a herniated disc. So you might just want to rock the knees left and right. That's enough of a twist. You don't have to wrench your spine to feel a twist. If you want something a little more, one of my favorite twists for back injuries, and actually one of my favorite ab moves, right, is bring the legs into chair and then let the knees come over about a third of the way, just enough that like your ab has to grab a hold to keep the legs from falling. So you don't want the legs to just fall over. You want the abs to go, whoa, wait a minute, right? And then you can rock to the other side. So you decide what you need to do for your spine. So finishing out your spinal twists, go ahead and ease out onto your spine, stretch your legs long, the back of the neck long, right? And as you do this, get all your little wiggles out. Maybe relax the jaw. The jaw is actually on the myofascial line connected to your hamstrings too. So shoulders, remove out of your ears. And so I'm going to do another little yoga nidra today. And so yoga nidra is it's called yogic sleep. And so what I'll do is I'll guide you through it, and then I pretty much just say namaste and I'm out. That way, if you truly need rest, then you can rest there longer than the meditation. But if for some reason you've got work to do or responsibilities that you need to get up, just let your mind at this point think the word namaste is gently bringing you out, okay? Just so that your mind kind of registers that. Now, any other words, don't struggle to hear me. There's going to be moments through this meditation where my voice may or may not go in and out of your hearing. Don't struggle to hear me. Some part of your brain is still listening. As I take you through your body, do not wiggle or move or fidget. So get all those spaces out. We're taking your mind there without any kind of stimulation to take the mind there, right? You're just allowing the mind to travel without like a tether for it, right? By wiggling the toes. So wiggle in, get all the wiggles out, and laying onto your spine. I'm going to have you just feel the breath come in and out of the body for a moment. Maybe experience the rise and fall of the belly and the chest at this point, because we've let the low belly go somewhat. There's mild engagement, but not much. So as we breathe here, I'm going to call out different routes and pathways through muscles in your body. I want your mind to just follow it and breathe along with it, right? And so on your next exhale, you're going to let your body just release into the mat, release anything that no longer serves you in this moment. On your next inhale, you're going to feel the inhale rise from your inner thighs, inner calves, inner knees. As you exhale, you're going to feel the outer shoulders, the outer arms, the outer hips, the outer legs drop. As you inhale, you're going to feel the inner arches, inner calves, inner knees, inner thighs, inside of the waist, inside of the rib cage, inside the collarbones, the side of the neck, expand outward. And then as you exhale, you're going to feel the sides of the neck, the shoulders, the arms, the sides of the waist, the hips, the sides of the thighs, outer calves, outer ankles and feet. Release down and out. You feel a rising up and inward with the inhale from arches, inner thighs, inner waist, inner collarbone, sides of neck, out the crown of the head. You feel the exhale come down from your temples, your jaw, the sides of your neck, outer arms, outer waist and hips, outer thighs, ankles and feet. As you inhale, you feel this brightness, this movement inward and upward from the arches, inner thighs, sides of the waist, rib cage, sides of the neck, out the crown of the head. As you exhale from the temples to the jaws, to the shoulders, rib cage, hips, outer thighs, knees, ankles, and feet. Feeling the inhale rise from the arches, calves, inner thighs, inner waist, ribs, inner collarbone, sides of the neck, the temples, the jaw, the shoulders, the sides of the waist, the outer hips and thighs. With the exhale, release all the way down to that pinky toe. Feeling the inhale rise from the big toes, inner arches, all the way up to the inner thigh, the inside of the rib cage, the sides of your neck, crown of the head. Exhale from the temple, the jaw, the shoulders, the sides of the waist, the outer hips, the outer thighs, ankles, and toes. Continue to feel this breath rise up through the center of you and then cascade down through the outer periphery. In your mind's eye, feeling the softening of the right rib cage as the inhale comes in. As you exhale, you feel the breath move out from the left side. So you just feel the activity of the outward breath from the left. As the inhale comes back in through the left now, you feel this softening, this acceptance of the breath. And then your next exhale feels that activity, that exhale come from the right side, that right lung and rib cage, waistline. With the inhale, you feel the opening, the acceptance, the lightness, the buoyancy of the breath into the right. And then from the left side, you feel that activity, that gentle push outward, that gentle rooting down. As the inhale returns through that left buoyant, opening, expanding left side, you feel the exit of the exhale coming from the right side as you feel this rooted, this slightly movement inward with the exhale. The expansion, the movement outward as you come in with the breath from that right side. And then feeling the exhale move from the left side as everything feels like it comes back home in that left side. And so as you balance between right and left with the mind and the breath, the focus of the sensation of the breath, just be observant. Be a witness feel the in and out, the differences between the right and the left. Feel the differences between the inhale and exhale. And continuing to watch your breath, continuing to stay in the moment. Let the right and left start to fade, and you can feel the inhale come through both lungs as both lungs accept it, open up, become this vast outward motion. And then the exhale becomes this coming home, this turning inward, this squeezing of the breath that gives a sense of internal return. And so when the inhale feels as though you could spread every molecule of you to the vastness of the space that you're in. And then the exhale, you can feel as though you're drawing all of that back down to that center place of power. As you continue to work with this oscillation of this outward movement and feeling the breath and this inward, this returning home, the outward movement feels open and buoyant and safe. The inward movement feels rooting, comforting, and secure. Continue to do this for as long as you can, as long as it serves you. My love to you, all of you yogis. Namaste.